I think you have to. Oh, did you accept the recording?
Yeah. I just said that you're recording. It didn't ask me to have said anything.
Okay, cool. Cool, bro. Well, listen, it's an honor to have you on, bro. And I'll have you know, this is episode 1.
Let's go, man. That's exciting. That's
Yeah,
exciting.
man. And I appreciate you, bro, because you hit me up the one day and you were down to do this. And so I figured, I made a list of about 100 people, and I wanted to make you the first guy or gal because of that first conversation we had. So we met like 2 years ago now at Level Up Boxing and Fitness, where you're a boxing coach.
Yes,
And
sir.
why don't you kind of just, give a little bit of history about kind of growing up, school? We could just start there.
All right, man. No, I'm super excited, man. Being a part of something new, fresh, that's always exciting. I think that's a big part of who I am is not following the crowd, not joining in. But seeing something that you want and having an ability to make it your own, man. I love that. I love that. So basically, I mean, I'm a Florida boy, born and raised. I'm from here, live here, eat here, sleep here. Like this, Florida is who I am. I've tried to leave, man, probably 3 or 4 times, and it always calls me back. There's just something about it, man. And I'm grateful for it. It's being in such a mixed environment, such a culturally diverse area growing up, man, has really, I feel like, impacted my desire to travel, get to know the other world, like rest of the world, understand other cultures, and through that, just general knowledge because of that, because you find so many things to be interested in. So yeah, I grew up in Davie, relatively small town. Um, my dad and mom were originally from Pennsylvania, New Jersey area. Uh, Came down here when they found out they were pregnant with me. My dad decided he did not want to raise another kid in the snow. So yeah, I got lucky on that, and then they had me, and Hurricane Andrew hit like 6 months
Wow,
later. So yeah, funny, right?
that's crazy.
You know, there's certain things you just can't run away from, certain things, I guess, in life. Um, but yeah, I mean, went to a couple different elementary schools. Played baseball growing up was a big thing. Um, my dad, real like just, hard everyday worker, getting up 6 in the morning. He did a crane operation, and then he got hurt on the job twice. One of them, he actually got struck by lightning.
Wow.
So that was a wild phone call to get. I believe I was in like fourth or fifth grade. Get a call, he's in the hospital, got struck by lightning on one of the construction sites working the crane. So survived that, everything cool.
Yeah, most people
And then
die, I think, from lightning strikes, don't they?
yeah, it's not a super high, and especially to be able to, like, work and all of that, to be fully functioning after, even if you survive it is. So it's
How was
pretty
that
crazy.
recovery?
You know what? It was just surprisingly not as drastic as you would think. Maybe 4 or 5 days that he just really, allowed his body to settle in, and like, he's I get a lot of my work ethic from him. It didn't keep him down very long at all. I was super young when it happened, so I don't remember a ton of it, but maybe 2 days in the hospital, 2 days at home, and he was back at it.
So
Um,
cannon goes boom for real then, bro, because your
yeah,
dad.
man, it's yeah, I never thought of that. I never thought of that. But so yeah, I played baseball forever, and I got to high school, and I was good. I was good at it. I pitched, I played second base, I played shortstop. And I really loved it. I really loved it. But my freshman year, I'm starting like, oh, everybody around me is getting kind of big, kind of tall, kind of fast, starting to throw a little harder, starting to hit a little harder. And I'm a competitive guy. And, I knew that was not a sport that was going to take me past the next 3 years of my life. And I always knew I wasn't a college guy. I didn't want to go to school for 4 more years, unless it was to be in something athletic, unless it was going to be to play a sport. I wasn't going to school for anything after that. And I'm like, man, I could be the best guy in the country, and it's going to be really hard at 5'2" to get a full ride anywhere. It
Right.
doesn't matter. I could have
Yeah.
the highest batting average, never make an error all season. And that disadvantage. And also, we were a horrible team, and I don't like to lose. So wrestling coach comes to me my sophomore year. He's like,
Okay.
bro, I need 103 pounder. He's like, and I was an athletic kid. I didn't have any muscle. We weren't jacked from playing baseball. And he goes, that's
Right.
exactly what I need. He goes, I need someone to float 103 to 112. So I went and I talked to my dad. My dad's like, no, just play baseball. You need to start thinking about working. You start wrestling, you're going to get hurt. We don't have insurance and this and
Right.
that.
Right.
He didn't understand the concepts of weight classes and stuff like that.
Yeah, this
So
country
I
really
didn't,
sucks with insurance too, man. That held
yeah.
me back a lot.
Ugh.
Like as a kid, and my parents not having insurance for me. Like I wanted
Oh,
to play
yeah.
football, I wasn't allowed to. I had coaches like giving me paperwork to take home, and kids on the football team, like my buddies that all play football, like wanted me to come, be on the team with them, and just the camaraderie that comes with, especially like a hard sport like football or wrestling, and
Yeah.
freaking
I think
insurance.
it's super crucial, man. As much as I love playing baseball, like you get the team building aspect of it, but there's a lot of like the physical demands. It's not quite the same once you've done a combat sport. And it's nothing against. I mean, the technical ability is insane for baseball. I mean, it's an incredibly difficult sport, but the athletic demand that we put ourselves through, unless you're pitching or maybe catching, it's not the same as getting thrown around by another human being for 2-3 hours nonstop. You can't
Right.
compare the two. Um, and that was my biggest desire. I'm now a 16-year-old teenager, full of testosterone, been picked on for quite a long time. Now it's getting worse because the gap is getting bigger between me and the kids in school. And I was like,
Right.
man, if any of you were my size, like, I'll fuck you up.
Right.
Like, bro, my brother's 6'2". I took some ass whoopings, bro. My brother's 3 years older than me and a big dude.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? By the time I was in high school, he's 6'1", 6'2", about a good buck 90.
So at
And there
what
was
point
some.
in learning wrestling did you start feeling like at least if y'all were my size, I would handle y'all?
So the reason I started doing this was because of that feeling, because
Right.
of getting picked on, but being a non-confrontational kid. Like, I didn't have a great home life. My parents fought all the time. I played baseball more in high school not to go home after school than I did because I still love playing baseball.
Right.
Um, so my junior year rolls around. So I didn't get to wrestle my sophomore year. I didn't go. I wasn't a great kid, but I tried to respect my dad as much as I could. So when he said no, I
Sure.
didn't do it. Junior year, baseball season, wrestling season, same time coming up. I'm like, yo, fuck this, I'm wrestling. He got to sign the form anyways. He's not gonna read that shit. Bring him the form, he signs it. Boom, I go to wrestling. He didn't find out until I won the district tournament that I started
Wow.
wrestling when I came home with the bracket sheet. So my first year, win the district tournament, come home, bring him the bracket sheet, bring him the medal. Pops, come check out. Come check out a match. We have a home match. I get absolutely thrashed both matches. Still brand new. I'm like, maybe 20 matches into my wrestling career. Get absolutely thrashed in front of him, both matches.
I think
Does
it's
it like
so amazing the volume of matches in wrestling, right? Like, dude, I might have 25 jiu-jitsu matches, right? But wrestling, you just get so much experience competing in front of people.
Oh, it's unbelievable around, yeah, and the great thing about it is it hones this ability. I think the hardest transition from wrestling to MMA is honestly the lack of activity. I think that's where a lot of us struggle. And if you're not very mentally strong and you have a bad performance, like you could get your ass whooped in one match, and you're like, hey, we still got consolations. I'm still going home with the medal. Shrug that shit off. We got work to do. It's not over yet.
Right.
The gold might not be there, but I'm not going home empty handed. You know, and they just it teaches you to be in the moment, let stuff go. And like, again, when you go to MMA now, taking kicks, punches, knees, and elbows, like, you can't do that every weekend. It's just, it's not sustainable like that. So if you're not very strong minded, it's easy to break on that level. So later in the season, I ended up placing 6 state counties. My dad's not super involved in it. Um and then my senior, so I lose my qualifying match to go to states at regionals. Senior year comes around, and we go district championship again, third place in the county. And I also beat the kid later in the season who took second in counties. So really good start to the season. Regionals, we get to states, and I think I finished the season going up to states like 32-5, something like that. So again, because of the frequent competition and this every day, like, I'm closing that gap quickly between these guys who have been doing this since seventh, eighth grade, freshman year. And a lot of these
Right.
small guys, they stay down there. You know what I mean? Because they know they've been conditioned. A lot of these lighter weight guys have a few years of experience coming in. And So the kid that took second in counties was my match to qualify for states. So I remember we're tied going into the third period, and I'm on bottom. My coach, this is one of my favorite stories. This is one of the very first stories I tell anybody that I coach, simply because I want them to understand how important believing your coach is. So again, young, like hyper kid full of testosterone. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get the fuck up in 5 seconds and I'm gonna get the point. And then I'm like, I'm not thinking, well, what about the other minute and 50 seconds that we still have to wrestle? And
Right.
my coach, so in between, like he sees me go down and he's like, he goes, gives me the hand gesture, pump the brakes, pump the brakes. He goes, I'm gonna tell you when to get up. He goes, believe you can get up whenever you want. Don't get turned, and I'm gonna tell you when to stand up. And sure enough, like 17 seconds left, boom, stand up, go. The
Let's
kid takes
go.
a desperate shot, easy to stuff from across the mat, circle out, qualify for states against a kid who had previously beat me twice. So go to states, I think win the first match, and then pretty much get run through. Not making it that year before and seeing that step up in competition, I feel like was again losing that match the year before. I think if you qualify, it's a different atmosphere. Counties, there's two mats on the floor. Regionals, there's two mats on the floor. You go to states, there's 6, 8 mats, like
Well, also you're talking about
nonstop.
Florida. It's not like you're in, Delaware or
Well, even
Massachusetts.
even the difference from like South Florida to North Florida, like North Florida wrestling, they take it a little bit more serious. Like South Florida's not known for it, man. I went to Pennsylvania to do a camp. Come to find out, my oldest brother is neighbors with Jack Kubo, who is a two-time NCAA champion, who happened to win both of those championships against the guy running the camp that I was going to go to. So now I go from planning on being in this big camp with thousands of people to a room full of 10 kids with freshmen, sophomores, juniors handling me, bro. I mean, throwing me around the gym for 2 months. So
PA,
when I tell
man.
you, I took my cardio more serious. 2 months in, now I'm throwing them. Now, like these guys are all nice to me and they're chilling while they're whooping me. Now, it's like I walk in for training and you can see like the group of like 2 or 3 boys that have been there forever, like starting to roll their eyes, like, oh, this fucking guy again. But I took that seriously, and that was my first experience of where the real levels are. Like going from regionals to states was one thing, but getting that out of state experience and feel of like, oh, that's like these kids grew up doing this. This is who they are. It's not something they started doing in high school. Was a different level, man, and it was very eye opening to how
So you were still
serious
in
you
high
have to
school
take
when
it.
you went to PA. You were still in high school.
I had just graduated, so I had done
Just
a
graduated.
couple.
Okay.
I had done a couple months of MMA. Actually, no,
Okay.
no, I have to backtrack. I went to so the how I got into MMA. There was an American top team in Davie. Um, and I would go and I would walk by, and me and my dad would talk about switching to MMA because I didn't want to work a regular job and I didn't want to go to school. I just didn't like being told what to do. I like being coached because it felt like somebody was trying to help me. I didn't like feeling like somebody was bossing me around. Um, so I'm standing outside one day, and the coach from Miramar High School is in there training. He's getting ready for a pro fight, and he stops mid work with the owner of the gym. And he's like, "Hey, you should probably go grab that kid and just talk to him." He goes, "Just bring him in and talk to him for." And I'm there for like 10 minutes, and tell him the wrestling background, this and that. And they actually offered me a sponsorship. He's like, "Come clean the gym, bro, and train." He goes, "I want to see if you really want to do this." He
Oh,
goes, "I don't want all the sign on money, all this and that." He goes, "I want to see it if you're serious." He's like, "Come clean the gym." And then after about 3 months, when you saw the wrestling, now I'm not cleaning the gym 3 nights a week. I'm teaching 3 wrestling classes a week. So that was my introduction to the world of coaching. And I enjoyed it, and I wanted to get as much knowledge as I could and become the best fighter. So that was where my idea of going out to this camp came back. And man, I came back, and my coaches at the time were like, "Wow, bro!" Like they couldn't believe the shape that I was in, how serious. Because coaches we're used to seeing people leave, and it's very rare that they come back in better shape from the last time that we saw them. When you don't see them for, I think I ended up being out there for about 5 or 6 months because I had family there. So I kind of fell in love with it for the time. But um,
what
I
year
was
was
there
this when you started? When you started at ATT?
2000, and I graduated in 2009. So this would have been like early 2010, late 2009, early 2010.
Wow. So being in South Florida and starting in an MMA gym, you know, this is like one of the meccas of mixed martial arts. Is South Florida. I mean, you have how many world champions from multiple organizations that live here and train here. Um, what's it been like just being able to be in, the martial the fight community is already a small community, nationwide, worldwide, but when you get to be in essentially the one of the biggest areas in the world for that community, you know, being able to leverage multiple training partners and gyms and coaches, you know, what was that kind of like? I know you went up to I'm originally from PA also. I was born in PA. And I competed up there in jiu-jitsu one time against a wrestler from Penn State. And obviously PA is known for their wrestling. But what was it like just, I mean, because 2010, right? Like MMA, how much has MMA changed in almost 14 years? How much has the
So
game changed?
So if we want to go back, big storyline going into my first fight, like we're talking Seth Petrozelli knocking out Kimbo Slice. Like that's big news
Exactly.
at this time. Seth Petrozelli, who owns a gym in Orlando, actually ended up shortly after that being the commentator for either my first or my second amateur fight. So like that was my first realization of like, oh, this world is not really that big. Like, oh shit, like I'm a dude making his second amateur fight, and here's the guy that just knocked out Kimbo on short notice, ring announcing my fight, calling me out to the ring. You know, I'm like,
Flying knee to Kimbo Slice. That was crazy. I remember that.
that what a fight, man, with the pink hair and everything, you know. So
Crazy.
and then you know like now I'm going to fights constantly, I'm watching my teammates fight here and there, you know, and it's like Hector Lombard's at one event, you know, and Yoel Romero at another event, and I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like these dudes are really out here supporting the next level of this. Like they're not just here, you know, making money and collecting checks and living this glamorous life. Like they're out here at these shows and, you know, like, you know, little sweaters and like flying under the radar and, you know, walking out these guys with one or two amateur fights to the ring and stuff. And I was like, man, this is really incredible.
Wow.
And I've been so blessed, man, to cross train so many places. You know, MMA Science Academy under Roger Crawl, who's cornered Amanda Nunes, you know, getting to go out there and see the talent. I mean, being in gyms, you hear the term all the time, and it's not usually the truth of no easy rounds. Like, there's usually somebody that you can look in there, you know, unless you're just the brand new guy who hasn't done it and be like, "Ooh, okay, this can be my round off." That's not really a round off, you know. That gym, there's no such thing as an easy round, you know. Hard knocks and that Henry Host system, getting to see, you know, how well even just the amateurs implement that high level style, the same thing that guys that are at Kill Cliff are doing now. You know, and just getting to watch, man, so many people that I fought on cards as an amateur. Jason Jackson just won the Bellator world title. I fought on an amateur card with him at Tiny Little Renegades in downtown Fort Lauderdale, and he's a world champion now, you know, like being right there and knowing that they're in the same training rooms, right, with Impa Casagni, your $1 million champion from PFL. Like it's always made it like getting to see these guys do it about so much more than just a win or a loss right now, because you get to watch the resilience, and that's always the most impressive thing, you know, the resilience just of setback after setback, and of knowing, being so sure who you are as a person and a fighter, and just knowing that you can't do anything else, um that keeps you involved. And it's like, how can you not be inspired by that, you know?
How many amateur
It's
fights did you have before you went pro?
I want to say between like smoker tournaments, everything, probably about 20 to 25. um
Okay.
Weights from 115 to 130. So, and I walk around at 122. Heavy,
East.
you know, that's a little bit thick. So, you know, and what a lot of people don't know is that a lot of that time in my amateur career, after about my first four fights until about my last 3 to 4 fights, all of that time in between, so whatever number of fights we just talked about, that gap in the middle, most of that was dealing with substance abuse problems too. So, you know, after a few years, like 3 straight years of just training all the time, you know, I kind of was like, you know, balancing like this coaching thing now and everything, trying to figure out how to make some other money. And I just got really stressed out. I took some time away. I started like bartending to just put money away. And, you know, in the time, my intentions were good. Oh, I'm going to, you know, bartend and work late and just not train as much so I can put some money away to train comfortably. But like, we live in South Florida. If you're not making 200 grand a year, there's no such thing as comfortably. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that
You always
scene,
find it.
that bar scene, definitely like it's, you know, I've seen a lot of, you know, especially non-athletes.
Yeah.
It's even
And like,
easier for them to get led down into that. You know, it starts with alcohol and the type of crowd that attracts. You know, how did you kind of get introduced to you know substances outside of alcohol, and you know which substance, you know, were you struggling with the most?
So for a long time, I mean, I went out and just partied, and I had done cocaine, I had done ecstasy. Actually, right out of there was a small window right out of high school before I started training at ATT. That again, no college. I have a job making a couple $100 a week. Like, what else are you going to spend a couple $100 a week on? You're not
Right.
saving that to do. You don't feel like you're accomplishing anything putting $200 in the bank and just watching it sit there. Especially not at 18, 19 years old. So it's literally get a check, go out for the weekend, and that was one of the reasons that my dad was like, hey, my dad actually offered to take me and start signing me up. So that was one of the reasons I was hanging outside, because he's like, yo, this is not who you are. Like, in the matter of 3 to 6 months out of school, he was like, literally like, yo, who are you? And this was when I don't consider it being a problem, it was just a kid partying a lot, because I was able, when I had some guidance, like there was no issues with stopping any of it. It was like, oh, I got a little glimpse back into who I was. So that was the first time the sport saved my life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so we go through about 3 years of training. This is where I start getting into the bartending world, which is now where I'm surrounded by that every night. And again, I'm already out till 3, 4 in the morning. Like, you're not getting up to train at 9 o'clock. And now I have to be at work at 7 in the evening. So I'm not doing the evening training sessions anymore. So one night we go out with some friends, we go out to shoot pool. Coming back from Hollywood, and I'm in the passenger seat coming up 95. We're going a little bit too quick. Another car comes flying on, going a little bit too quick. And now this is we get into a miracle that we all walked away out of the car type of accident. I mean, multiple bouncing off three
Wow.
or four cars, hitting the barricade in the middle. Um,
Was the driver drunk or just an
so I
accident?
mean, like, no, he was buzzed. It wasn't like,
Okay.
inebriated, like
He
absolutely
wasn't
foolish.
shit
Like,
faced. Yeah,
he was
hammered.
no, he was a good, like,
Yeah.
an honest 3 beers, not a 3 mean 6, like
Okay.
an honest. Knew he was driving. Probably had
Right.
3 beers in an hour and a half, 2 hours that we were playing pool. So
Okay. Okay.
I never held it against him,
Sure.
except for maybe in my very darkest times when you're looking for somebody to blame. You know what I mean? Any coherent version of me, I never held it against him. I was mature enough to know whether I should have decided to get in the car or not. But
Yeah.
that was my first real encounter with nerve pain. Very different. I
Ah,
broke
very
my
different.
hand. I had
Very
broke my
different.
toes. I had broken, you know what I mean? I'd been hit, kicked, kneed, and punched, bruised, cut.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, that kind
No,
of pain never affected me.
no, it's different.
Numbness, pins and needles, tingling, not being able to use your arm, not being able to grip stuff. That was different for me. And again, I was determined to keep training. So how do you train through the pain? Oh, well, I'm just going to take one of these little things that they're giving me before I go train. Yeah, but now you just finished a really hard training
Oh
session.
shit. And what year was
And
this?
this is, so I was 21, 22 maybe.
Yeah.
So
Like we're
we
the
get
same
into
age. How old are you now?
32.
Yeah, I'm 33. Yep. So it's right around that time. Do you see the Netflix documentary with the Sackler family?
I have
You gotta
not, but
watch
I'll
that
have to watch
shit.
that.
It's
Um,
crazy. I
so
mean, legally selling heroin and getting the whole country hooked on heroin is what happened.
yeah,
And having pretty girls ride around in cars with little plush pillow oxycontin dolls and
with
get yeah.
with something that's meant to be, you're promoting something that's meant to be for people on their deathbed to have some comfort, is what the real intent of it was supposed to be. Like how they're selling the usefulness of it. It was meant to be because they knew that once you start taking it,
They
you
knew
probably not
exactly what
stopping.
they were doing. You
So
got to
for
check
them
out
to
that
for them
documentary.
yeah for them to, okay, what did oh, well, this is for the terminally ill, this is to give people comfort, and they're like, whoa, bullshit. They knew exactly what they were doing, like you said. So and it's the perfect storm of, now I've been fighting for a while, like training injured, I'm tired, I have to work. Now I'm in my 20s, so like I have to have a real job. So now it's like the perfect storm of, well, I don't want to bartend, so what's my supplemental income? I'm gonna just start selling weed to all these people that I've met from all the years bartending.
Right.
And now I don't have to deal with all that,
So you
late
had a neck
hours and
injury
this and
from the
that.
accident.
So I ended up
Yeah.
with my C2 and 3 having like an impinged nerve in it,
Mhm.
physical therapy, and I made the mistake of getting the cortisone shots. So
Yeah.
now again, I get those, I keep training, so I'm not really like messing with anything too heavy yet. And then the pills wear off, and now it's sleepless nights, and now
Mhm.
I need one to train. Now I need one after training. Now I
Mhm.
need something so that I can sleep.
Mhm.
Well, now you're gonna wake up sick.
Yeah.
Now you're waking up sick. Now I'm like, well, I can't just get up and like admit that I'm sick because I just took all this dope. So I'm gonna take another one so I don't look sick. And then
Exactly.
that's it, man.
Wow.
And now it's in
And
the
you didn't
perfect
know,
state.
like at that time,
I had
like
no idea.
we
I
didn't
had
know anything near the like that was the beginning of that epidemic starting that's still plaguing the country to this day. You know, like and I'm no stranger to the explosive, breathtaking nerve pain. You know, I herniated my L5S1, and dude, I competed on it like twice and trained hard one night. Always, you know, more than half my training partners had 50 pounds on me. I used to, you know, be down at 155 pounds and just getting stacked and just getting smashed. And I woke up one morning, went to pick my toilet seat up, and my legs exploded, just
ugh.
exploded in breathtaking pain. And you know, it was a very long, dark 9 to 12 months after that, because you know I couldn't work, I couldn't train anymore. So my you know, you go from being a competitive combat athlete, training full time, being a personal trainer, then you know, training full time. Like my whole, you know, routine was like a pro athlete at that point, and I was super committed. So to go from that to all of a sudden I'm dragging my leg around, I don't have insurance, and I can just relate, except the difference is that I was fully aware of opiates, and at the worst of me going through the pain that would just radiate through my entire lower body, I mean, waist down, it could just blow into anywhere. And the most I would do is take ibuprofen. Maybe I take 4 ibuprofen, and I would take ibuprofen. Then I started dealing with, because I was bartending as well. I had to go back into the restaurant industry because my training business dissolved.
Yeah.
And alcohol would numb the pain, right? So I started drinking because alcohol would numb the physical pain. And also, you know, when you, like, I had to quit smoking weed because it would make me even hypersensitive to the pain. And then it would also make me
That's
just,
something a lot of people don't talk about with
yeah, it would,
with the nerves. It is
yeah,
great, man. You have a hard training day, you want to smoke and put your feet up. When
yeah,
you have nerve pain
makes it
and you
worse.
smoke, it
Makes it
it
worse.
amplifies it. It
And it
absolutely
makes
does.
you
And
hyper conscious of your situation, where alcohol would numb the pain, and it just makes you like,
you forget about it.
you're just like, you know, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Like alcohol gives you that mindset, where weed gives you a more conscious mindset in terms of you know, your reality, what's good, what's bad. But I knew about those opiates because this was in 2019, right? So yours happened in 2012, you said, right?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would have had to start. Yeah, like
And the
2012. So this is
doctor's like, yo,
early.
take this. You're going to be good. It's going to help you manage the pain while you heal. That whole
Well,
bullshit script. Meanwhile, that doctor's making a ton of money every time he gives out a script for, were they giving you oxys?
no. So the same thing started with like 5 milligram Percocets, but so here's the thing to dive a little bit deeper in. Now, both of my parents have dealt with substance abuse issues themselves. What I knew about, right? Because the thing is, as a young kid, I didn't understand because both of my parents were doing the pills. That was never the argument because my dad had the same vice. My
Oh,
mom also, had a problem with cocaine and other substances that my father was no longer doing. He did, but when we went through a point that my dad lost us, my parents separated, and my dad did what he needed to get us back, and he gave up everything else really. But you know how it is now. He's got a script. He's taking them as prescribed, whatever. But at the end of the day, they're both dependent on them,
right,
and but that was never the argument. So the argument was always the like cocaine or smoking crack, which I had also
right.
done during that little phase that I talked
Wow.
about.
So
And again,
how did that,
when
yeah, how did
so
that
when
start?
when I wanted to quit, right? Again, it was just the party scene. I
Yeah.
just started hanging out with some people, and
Uh-huh.
really the gateway drug for me was
Yeah.
ecstasy. Because once I
Okay.
took that, it was the best experience, and I was like, oh, if anything's gonna make me feel close to that, I'll just try it. But
Uh-huh.
now again, this is like an experimental phase. Again, probably partying too much, but like I was an athlete in high school. I didn't go out and hook up with a lot of girls. I didn't do a lot of the after school parties. I was very, very
Right.
dedicated.
Right.
So now I got a little bit of size. Like I'm still a short guy, but like now I got some muscle and I've been wrestling the last couple of years. I have a little like
Man strength.
charisma and
Yeah, yeah. Of
self-confidence now.
course.
You know what I'm saying? Like I carry myself differently. Oh, and now I'm in a room full of other people that are also impaired, just trying to have fun. So I'm like, now girls are approaching me for the first time in my life. Like, I had girls talk to me that I was probably oblivious that, but like, I mean, blatantly coming up to you, like, damn, and like grabbing, like, I had never felt that. So it was easy to get consumed by that lifestyle. But as soon as I had a reason or just a recognition that it became an issue, I stopped. Literally, like,
Okay.
just so when it came to the opiates now, years down the road, I'm telling you, like, I'm not concerned about having to stop because in my mind, the pain is a temporary issue. So the pills will be a temporary thing.
Mhm.
That was where the big disconnect was. It wasn't that like I didn't understand one, the way that it just changes your brain chemically, but two, I didn't understand the physical aspects of going through withdrawals. And then now you're not just withdrawing. It's not just the flu and the cold symptoms. I'm still really fucked up in pain trying to stop it. So it's
Yeah.
like the pain again, the
Mm,
nerve pain was always that breaking point. It was that thing that like
mm,
24, 36 hours in. No, I can't do it.
I
You
know.
know?
Yeah.
And then you try to go to the hospital a couple times and be like, can you do anything else? And they're like, yo, get the fuck out of here. You don't have money, you
Did
don't
you
have
ever
insurance.
try
Like,
like ibuprofen or anything?
I mean, in the beginning, yeah. So when I did start going to the pain doctor to try and get something consistent, because I didn't want to buy shit off of the streets, and I was in legitimate pain, and at this point, I wasn't spending, every dollar. In my mind, again, I'm still looking for something to get me through the situation until I'm healthy again.
Mm-hmm.
And then they started prescribing the 5 milligram Percocets and gabapentin, and the gabapentin did help as well. But again, now I'm starting to realize that I'm hooked, because now I'm trying to leave the pills home and I'm going throughout the day and I'm like, yo, I can't do this, bro. I'm sweating, I'm sick, I'm vomiting. And
Jeez.
now the perfect storm of the wrong girl at the wrong time
Oh
too.
man.
So yeah, I start seeing the lady and literally the girl next door. So there's one neighbor, and then behind their house, so we used to have a pool party in this middle neighbor's house all the time. So she's in a very volatile situation, and again, at the time, very good at hiding her personal struggles to make it seem as if the guy that she's with is the struggles. And she's a little bit older. I'm just still only 22. She's like kind of close to 40. Got this like hot mom next door, but without the kids kind of thing going on. And I'm like, oh, this is great. Now, by the time like I realized that we're like went from just kind of hanging out to like her leaving her dude and staying with me in like weeks. And
Whoa.
then I started to realize again that this is all just, oh, now we're only partying. Now we're only doing this. And like, we're not going out and partying. Like, we're sitting in the house and just, doing different substances and shit. And I went through a really volatile relationship, and then we tried to like move and restart in Denver. She ended up cheating on me out there. So I came back here, restarted. And then again, now I'm going through heartbreak, physical pain,
Damn.
and a drug problem. So it
Shit.
was just like 2 to 3 years before I could even think about trying to get off of the
Were you
drugs,
still
because
training during all this time?
no, I had pretty much stopped training from the
Okay.
time that we went to Denver. So it was like about a year of kind of,
So no
yeah, because I
training, no
did.
gym, no weights, no nothing.
I took a fight when we were in Denver for the 2 months out there, because I was going crazy and the situation was so bad that I trained for maybe 3 weeks for that fight while I was in Denver, and went out there and just, I mean, got obliterated, obviously in no condition to fight, fighting in altitude, not training, like
Wow.
worse. But again, like I just needed something to feel like, I realize now looking back, it was such a desperate attempt to feel like myself, because now you're coming up on 2 full years of like, yo, who the fuck am I? With a
Right,
year
bro.
before that of
Mm,
just not knowing what I really wanted to do anymore. Like a
yeah.
clear-minded uncertainty, and now like just a clouded mind, and like, putting myself in worse situation after worse situation, telling myself, oh, it's only going to be until I can make the next situation better. Um, so I came back, and so now we're about probably 2 years into the opiates and everything. And it took me a year. I came back and I kind of got my head in the right place, like did some Suboxone for a while and everything.
Okay.
And then
That
again,
shit
I
works.
tried it does help until you try to stop. And then I'm like, fuck, bro, all this pain, like it's covering itself up. So again, I'm not getting it the way I should be. Like now my mom's getting it because she's trying to get clean and we don't have insurance. So we're like,
Right.
splitting what we can. And that says a lot about my mom as a person. And like even in her worst state, she still always has like tried to put us first,
Yeah,
as
God
weird as
bless him.
that sounds.
Yeah.
So but that speaks to that even then, because she just didn't want to see me suffering. But then I would go and I would try and like, get off that, because I didn't want to start fully training again until I was completely off of everything. So I would try and get off, and then I would get mad and I would end up just calling my guy. I'd be like 2 days trying to get off of it and I'm like sweating and something. No, fuck this. I'm gonna just go pick some stuff up. And then again, now I just came back from another state. What am I doing? I'm going back to bartending. I gotta make money quick. My dad's not letting me have this free ride and everything. And I basically put my parents through hell of doing nothing but like go to work at 4, get out at 11, come home and stay up and do dope in the bedroom, lock myself in the bedroom. And it was just a vicious cycle. And I didn't know a way out, man. And it was weird because it was like I would go to work and I would come home and I would sit in the room and I would just cry for like 15 or 20 minutes before I even touched the drugs. Because at least like getting a cry out made me feel a little bit better. So I would feel like I would actually be able to feel them. But it's a constant, you know, I'm trying to like take a Xanax to get my nerves under control, but like I also want the biggest blast of dope that you can do at the same time. So now it's just this like paranoia and like almost a schizophrenia of up and down and up
Jeez,
and
man,
down and like,
what a
you know,
nightmare.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, bro, I was making minimum consistently $1,500 a week living in my parents, not giving my dad shit, using my mom's car, and still borrowing money from my dad. Just so that I need $20 till I get out of
And
work so that I
you're
can go to
grabbing off
work
the
and make
street.
money. And now, yeah, now at this point, I mean, I'm full blown just doing heroin and like full hard shit. Like there's no more 5 milligram Percocets. There's like 30s or just legit dope off the
Where were you
street.
going to get it?
Um, actually, bro, the craziest thing about ending up at Level Up is, bro, like I ran that street right in
Oh,
that area
I
for
lived right off of
years.
that street for like
For
8 months.
years, bro, for like 2 years. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
it's
that's
in
crazy.
when you talk about coming full circle and the imagine the level of comfort that I had to have in myself to
Wow.
walk into that door knowing, bro, knowing that I'm gonna see faces, knowing that you know what I mean, like, and it happens. And there's random dudes that are like, "Oh, what's up, Ken?" And I'm just like, I gotta just kind of keep walking and brush it by, like. But I don't believe that happened on accident either. You know what I mean? Like God doesn't have a sixth sense of humor like that. You know what I mean? He doesn't. It's there's a reason for that. And that was, I feel like, when I became the most comfortable. And like I'll still go out and have a drink. Like I'm not saying that I'm perfect. And
Right.
thank God, bro. Like I needed NA for the
What
first
about
year
like
that I was trying
weed
to
and
get my life
shrooms?
together. So I'll still smoke. I've done so 11 to was 4 years. November 2nd was 4 years since I left the detox for the last time. Off
Congrats.
of the opiates. So since then, no cocaine, no opiates, nothing like that. I smoke. I'll have a glass of whiskey, like all things that I know that I can control. You know what I mean? Like, and even smoking, I take my breaks. I'm like, yo, you gotta, check yourself. You're getting kind of lazy, bro. Where when I start
Mhm.
picking smoking over going and getting one more thing done for the day, I know it's a problem.
Yes.
Um,
You do
you know,
shrooms?
I've done them, I think, twice in the last 4 years since then.
What do you think about
So,
them?
it's a different thing because I had done them so many times, and the intent was so different when I used to do them. Before it was like we're gonna eat this whole eighth, and I'll see you in a day and a half type shit, and
Hmm.
you know what I mean. Like we were going out there. Now it's like like a microdose to sit and
Yeah.
just like soak into something. And I haven't.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to what a full trip would look like.
I think the
Um,
microdosing is great.
but I think that, yeah, I think it's an absolute, like, it's just it's good. I fully believe that it can help with depression. Like it makes
I think
sense
it's
to me.
medicinal
Like,
for sure.
yeah, and I know plenty of people that do microdose, at least a couple of times a week, and they love it. And I would
Yeah,
rather do
I
that
had a great
over.
experience doing
I,
that.
I would way rather that over like doing the ketamine treatment that you see going
Oh
around. So
yeah,
I'm taking
fuck
I'm
that.
taking if I'm doing something like I'll take the mushroom route. And plus now they got those little candy bars where it's like before you could, I mean, you could always weigh it,
I
but you
saw
didn't
those.
really know what you were getting. Now like those little chocolate
Yeah,
bars, man, it's like you can really break it off and
they
like
need
from
to
one piece
legalize that
feel
shit,
it,
man.
man. Um yeah, it's gonna take the same system that it did with with the marijuana and stuff.
I smoked weed
So
for 16 years and I quit 2 years and some change ago. And I don't miss it. And I wish I would have quit smoking sooner. Once in a while I'll do an edible. And even then I'll do them not in high doses, I'll do them in lower doses. Now they got that Delta 9 shit. Dude,
I
I
I'm not I don't know, like, see, I start getting weird when you start, like, I'm even
well,
skeptical,
they
like,
sell it at CBD shops. Like I went into
yeah,
a CBD shop right off Las Olas and I bought this sparkling water and it was Delta 9. So there's like Delta 8 and there's Delta 9. And
yeah, which
Delta
I thought
8
the
is
Delta 9 wasn't even legal. I thought that was the, like, traditional
it
THC
is.
that's in your
It
pot.
is.
So I'm like,
It is.
it's
It
confusing,
is. The
bro.
Delta 8 is synthetic and it's toxic because the process that they do with like solvents and shit to extract it and modify the
No,
molecules and
you can
chemicals,
taste it. I tried it. I've
it's
tried I
bad.
tried the gummies and I tried the pen, and like
It's toxic,
it's
toxic metal
horrible.
shit.
It's
But
you
the
can
Delta 9 is what we know. It's the
It's
regular,
very
it's just
confusing.
decarb. Yeah, it's just decarb. I went and did some research on YouTube because what happened was I bought this soda, Delta 9, and he's like explaining to me, and I'm like, dude, I'm in a CBD shop. You're just trying to make a sale, whatever. Like, give me the shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yo, I hadn't done an edible in like a year and a half. No weed, dude. I was gone for like
It worked, huh?
it was like six
Bro,
hours, and it was exactly. I'm like, this is the most familiar thing ever. I know exactly what this feeling is. Nothing about it is strange, and I got super lit as I've ever been on an edible. And I'm like, I cannot believe I just bought that as a soda, a sparkling water from a
that,
shop on Las
yeah,
Olas. I'm
and
like, that
no,
blew
but
my mind.
it's not. It's the. I live right behind a gas station, bro. They have like a tea now that has
Crazy.
the Delta right in the gas station. It's not even like in just vape shops. It's not, bro. Literally walk in the
I
gas station and
know.
grab. I'm like, man, it's wild. It's wild, bro.
It's cool. I mean, I guess
They
there's this
got they
farmers
got the
bill that they
they got
passed or
that.
some shit.
I don't know, man. It's very confusing, but there's always gonna be a loophole and a new law and a loophole and a
Mm-hmm.
new law. Um, no, man, but and
So you
even
clean now.
that,
You do caffeine. You do pre-workout. You
I
going
don't do.
outside. You're coaching.
Yeah, man. So yeah, like I said, 4 years, man. Coming up on 3 years with Level Up. Also married for 3 years in
Yes,
January.
sir.
Um,
Beautiful. Yeah, I love it.
to me, I think that's of everything. Like having a business is cool, man. I get to do what I love, and I'm blessed. So like having a home to nurture, man, is by far the greatest accomplishment, man. And it's hard, bro. And like I have this like very entrepreneur mindset and everything, but like it's a struggle, and I have to remind myself of like where the Jeff Bezosism started, and like sometimes you look around in the one bedroom apartment, but I'm like, man, I look back and I'm like, bro, there
Oh
was there
yeah.
was. I mean, listen, I almost died after work one day because I would go. One of the restaurants I worked in had a stairwell into corporate buildings that didn't get used after 6 o'clock or whenever anybody went home. So, like, if I didn't want to go home, I would just stay there, and I would literally like be under a fucking stairwell smoking dope.
Yeah.
And I woke up covered in puke one day, like all over, still in my work clothes, locked my keys in my like. I almost died in a fucking stairwell where nobody would have found me until they came in at 8 o'clock in the next morning, bro. So like, I have to remember things like that. Like, I still go to that restaurant at times, and it's a beautiful thing because it's been sold and completely remodeled. And if that's not a caricature of my life in whole, from a barely getting by restaurant, wasn't really sure what it was doing, but had a ton of potential, and is now thriving. Like it's
Yeah.
what it's meant to be. And I'm like, man, I went there yesterday to sit down and have lunch, and I'm like, wow, like just wow, to go sit in the same place, bro. That was the peak. I mean, they saw me at my worst, man, and to be able to
Yeah.
go and see some of the same faces still there, it's incredible, dude. And to be able to walk in there proudly and comfortably, like sit down and enjoy a meal, and then come over and be like, Ken, what's up, man? Like, it's so good to see you, and not feel like I'm faking it. You know what I mean? It's taken a very long time to believe that I'm the person that I've become
Right.
because of my past. That it's like, you know, it's hard because we tell ourselves, especially as athletes, that our time is coming, our moment's coming, and this and that. And like, again, I know I don't have the success yet, but like the blueprint is there, the roadmap
I
is
think you
there,
do, Kenny.
the
I think you
growth
do.
is there.
I think that right now you're at an all-time high, and I think if you were a crypto coin, I think buying you now, if you were a token, I think you're definitely going to see new all-time highs in the future. I think that the road behind you is still shorter than the road in front of you. You're
And
only
that's
32
crazy,
years
man.
old,
Yeah.
and yeah, you have all this experience. You've gone through and overcome tremendous adversity. You've got such a team and a support system around you, starting with your wife and then your team over at Level Up. How did you get started at Level Up? Because coming from wrestling, then going to mixed martial arts, and now transforming into a boxing coach at a boxing gym, I think that's really cool. I think that's really interesting. How do you feel about boxing? For the singular discipline that it is, and what's it like for you coaching over at Level Up, especially it being right there, off those streets that we're both familiar with.
Man, it's a blessing first and foremost. Like I said, I don't believe in accidents, and it's interesting. So I had just made my pro boxing debut with zero amateur boxing fights ever. It was just like
Because you
one
were
of these
pro in
things.
MMA, you're not allowed to have an amateur boxing
Exact
bout.
exactly. So what had happened was I
Kenny, let me pause you. I
started.
gotta run to the bathroom. I gotta run to the
Okay, go
bathroom.
ahead,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead,
chop.
go ahead.
I'm gonna chop this, and I'm gonna pick it up.
Okay.
One energy drink and a coffee.
That's
Woo,
it,
that thing was
boy.
running. My bad on that.
That's
Okay,
it.
so you got that thought?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
um, so I'm still training with Darwin at this time.
Okay.
So that's another thing. So, I didn't really get to like get into that. So one of my best friends is very, very good friends with Darwin. They started doing Taekwondo together, like, from a young age. So they kind of grew up.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Darwin was much more consistent and elevated. So at this
Monster.
time,
Darwin is a monster. Oh my gosh.
one of by far one of the biggest blessings in my life, man. Like him and my wife, I don't think there's two people I'm more grateful for, man,
Yeah,
for
he's an
real.
amazing person.
So I had done two of his smoker tournaments, won both of them. I had done an MMA fight against the son of a former world champion kickboxer who was supposed to be highly touted. And not only beat him but dropped him before I choked him out. So
Nice.
the
I
striking
think
was
you told
starting
me
to
about
evolve
that. Yeah.
from wrestling. I mean, in like a minute, bro. The first like real combination that I threw
Yeah.
clipped him on the chin, which was amazing because Michael Chandler knocked out Dan Hooker like 2 weeks later with the same setup that I used. So I was like, yo, that was
Oh,
fucking
that was recent,
amazing.
huh?
So that was in shit three. What this is my third year
Man,
as a
time
pro. So
flies. Jeez.
yeah.
Feels recent.
So I ended up losing my MMA debut, and then I saw a post. Oh no, I'm sorry, I hadn't turned pro yet, but I got a call for it was like $800, man. And I'm on a roll at this point. I haven't lost since I've been in Darwin's gym. 2 days earlier, we're talking about like, yo, your boxing just looks different right now. So
Mm,
I'm like, fuck it, we're on a run. I'm getting older. Um, you know, obviously probably kind of jumped the gun a little bit, like to go straight into a boxing match. But man, I went out there and like, for the 2 minutes of the fight I was like, oh, I could do this. I'm like, I was getting off on the kid, but I just made, the rookie mistake and he capitalized on it.
different,
I
right? Boxing's
he was
different.
yeah, he was a southpaw and we both threw our lead hooks at the same time and his was just shorter and faster. But I'd never been hit like that. Like
Right.
I've been dropped, I've been TKO'd. I'd never been hit and not felt the punch and just like
Crazy.
collapsed.
Yeah.
And that was
Been
when I was
there.
like, no, no, no. I was like, bro, if my boxing has gotten to this level, just learning how to kickbox, I really want to learn how to do this. Um, I really want to learn like that subtle difference. And man, it just impressed me the way that this kid clipped me. And I became
Mm,
obsessed with the actual science of it and the small, like minute details of it and how small the motions were and not having to
mm,
bounce in and out in that kickboxing style all the time. And
mm-hmm.
I'm still a wrestler at heart. I like my feet on the ground. I'll
Sure.
kick you, I'll throw it all and I'll chop your legs down. But if I don't need to, I don't really want to kick you above the waist.
Mm,
I'm chopping legs and trying to use my feet to set my hands up, come back with big combinations, stuff like that.
yeah.
So anyways, like I said, go out there, end up getting knocked out by the kid. Now, another former student of Darwin's, Danny, he's coming in, he's like 13, 14 years old, but I'm seeing him, start competing in boxing and training every day and this and that. And I
Mm-hmm.
looked at gym up and I realized it's very, very close to where I'm living.
Okay.
So I do my research and, like usual, procrastinate. I don't reach out right away. Well, about 2 days later, oh, mind you, I had opened my own gym for a little while now at this point. So I have a little warehouse gym that I built that I'm starting to train people on the side, getting, running a few little classes in. And then I'm cross training, doing my real training with Darwin. Um, and then that just got to be too much. I'm too nice of a guy. Basically, was just letting anybody that would come work out come so that I could get the extra work. I'm newly married now at this point, so I can't just spend the money keeping this warehouse open.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a couple people now, enough that I'm like, oh, okay, they've hung around.
They'll
I,
follow
I
you.
think I can make this work. and it's right
Yeah.
down the street. So now I
Yeah.
see them post an ad looking for a coach. So, I told her, I said, hey, listen, I have, you know, a professional background now. I have, this many years experience, such and such. So Elia makes me come in and then train it session with her and then
Mm,
train her.
mm.
And after that, she's like, yeah, they basically, so at this point, I'm now running a coffee shop like 3 or 4 days a week in the morning, and I'm guaranteed $50 from the gym every week. That's it. 2 classes, $25 a class, 2 classes. But obviously, potential to get clients off the floor,
Sure.
sit
Yeah,
there,
there's
take the
traffic. Yeah.
walk-ins. At this time, I'm not answering the phones or anything like I do now. So it's literally like go to the coffee shop and grind here. Go to the coffee shop and grind here, and just um, sit and wait. And then honestly, after 2 weeks, like I got into a boss with my manager at the coffee shop. I quit the coffee shop. Not only that, my wife's car was falling apart. So we go and finance a brand new car.
Wow.
Elliot goes, you're nuts. I said, no, now I just don't like, you can ask her about this conversation if you ever see her again. She goes, oh, you're out of your mind. I said, no, now I don't have a choice. Now this has to work.
That's the way, bro.
And that's it. Like, and I mean, there's so many times I've moved 2 times in the 3 years that we've been together, both on short notice, both like having to scrape money up, borrow money, pay back loans, like all of that to keep making moves. And like
Oh yeah.
it's paid off, man. I went from
Let's
now
go, Candy.
I had to go back to bartending at one point, but now I'm doing a job that I work from 3 to 10. I'm home by 11. I can get up, and now I also have a reason to get up in the morning. Now I've got 1 or 2 clients every morning now,
Yup.
so
Yup.
now it's not that dangerous because now there's no thought of what are we doing after work, because motherfucker, we going home and going to sleep because we got to work in the morning too. So I
Got that
ran, I
routine.
mean, bro, for a year, 7 days a week, working 4 double shifts between either the gym and the restaurant, or going to the gym in the morning and going to the gym at night. After a year, I knocked it down to about twice a week. And then I just couldn't leave because they pay me too good, man. $15 an hour plus tips. I couldn't like it took me
Sure.
a long
That's
time
great.
until the middle
That
of
was at the
this year
Thai
to
place, right?
yeah, at the Thai restaurant.
Dang, I
So
almost stopped by there the other night just to pop in, see if you were
yeah,
there.
no, so I left about the middle of the year
Good for you.
full time. So now I'm not doing anything but training. But now I'm getting into matchmaking. We're putting together a card February 3rd, amateur
I saw
boxing,
that.
kickboxing,
Let's go.
MMA, grappling super fights. We'll have some pro fighters doing some combat jujitsu on there. So it's now like, okay, we got away from the restaurant, and like again, that sacrifice has to be for something, right?
Sure.
Because I can't just plan on not replacing that income, which most of it I have through the training, but now it's like, okay, how do we supplement it? So now this is going to be the next venture, hopefully getting into doing 4 or 5 cards a year. And if that adds up to 10 grand at the end of the year, now we're doing something,
Sure.
whatever it is. And I'm so appreciative to the game and the sport and the lifestyle that anything I can contribute to growing it, between making fighters, making everyday people healthier, making women be able to protect themselves in real life. Like any way that I can give back to the growth of just martial arts and combat sports. And, you know,
So right before we
that's,
hopped on, you talked about, how right now the way you're able to train with like a full health bar. And then I know, congrats again. You just won a big event out in West Florida, combat jiu-jitsu event.
yeah,
Um,
that was fun. Which is actually the promotion that I'm now going to be matchmaking for. So I'm going to take over kind of
cool.
their South Florida area. So again, taking chances, and I got a lot more than just getting that belt that night. So
How do you
um,
feel about like combat jiu-jitsu? So, we got Gordon Ryan, right? Who likes to talk a lot of shit online and is non-arguably the best no-gi grappling competitor ever, right? My thing, and I really wonder why more athletes have not just kind of used this to get his attention. Where's the combat jiu-jitsu wins, bro?
yeah,
And how would you compare today's sport jiu-jitsu to combat jiu-jitsu?
it's absolutely different, man. As a wrestler, if you give me the ability, and I mean, I showed it in this fight. I showed it. The kid had a nice, like, trying to pull rubber guard or something, or had the arm trapped, and with an open hand, one shot made him forget that he was trying to submit me.
Them things ain't no
So I'm telling, listen,
you can rock people. I've been
it,
rocked with slaps before, bro.
if you watch the video that's closest to the corner. You'll hear the guy that I asked help corner me for the fight, because I'm in Tampa and I just brought my wife with me. He's the only person I know that knows jiu-jitsu that I trust. He's a brown belt himself. So I'm like, hey, can you just shout some shit at me from the corner? And the first strike that I hit him with, he goes, Ken, you can't punch him. And I hit him again with another open hand strike, and he goes, oh shit, do that again.
What part are you? I mean, are you focusing more on certain parts of the palm?
From the middle down, I'm not an asshole, so I'm not trying to like wrist butt you, you know what I mean? But this all right here, I'm telling you, man. And
is it fingers closed or fingers open?
They have to be. I mean, I open my hand wide because I feel like it flexes this and it makes it harder. So I personally like to stretch. If I have to hit you with the palm, again, that flexing is the same as closing a tight fist, right?
Yeah.
And it was just an awesome experience, man. That was a fight that I had wanted for a long time, that a lot of matchmakers promised to try and make when I went pro, and it hasn't happened. So I was like, man, at least I got a chance to, again, go compete at the right weight with a real training camp, and the results show, man. It's different. It's different when you have a team and a system put in place. Which again, I love to fight, so I'm never gonna not take these short notice B-side fights, fly across,
and you're feeling good. I mean, I've seen you fight like 4 times and you're just back in and back in. I'm like, is this dude just extra durable? Like, you're just not taking damage, but you're saying like you're feeling, full health bar.
Well, right now, like I had some nagging stuff even going into my last boxing fight. My right shoulder for like almost a year would be good for a week. It wouldn't be good the next week. It'd be good for a week. So like I felt like I was constantly trying to plan training around what wasn't hurting, and not in the sense of being sore, of like, what can I actually put load on today that isn't going to cripple me tomorrow? And again, like we have the cold plunge now. I am a massive believer in cold plunging.
And, you got one at the gym,
man. So we have the cold plunge in the gym now. That CJJ camp, I did it every day, man. And the mental toughness again on top of it. On top of it, we have the sauna in there now. I prefer the jacuzzi over the sauna. I feel like my body decompresses more.
For sure.
But that was a huge game changer too. And now like I structure my days better, and I'm more disciplined with my diet, which is huge. I mean, when you start talking about issues like inflammation and stuff,
and you're sleeping better now without the restaurant job, I'm sure. I mean, that's a big anti-inflammatory. I mean, I'm sure you're, aware about the sleep.
And like, even though I'm on my feet all day, it's very different from hustling, running, picking up bins, carrying, boom, running plates of food, and know what I mean, throwing ball. No, like I hold mitts, I run around, I do work, but that's also what my body is conditioned to do.
Exactly.
You know what So
and you guys have a good padded floor in that gym. That was like, you know what? That was one of my favorite things about Level Up, was just like, there was even times because people go outside and sprint, and it's like, with my back, I'm not running on the concrete. Period.
No.
There was like a day Elliot was like, yo, like, you supposed to, and I'm like, I'll stay in here, but I'm gonna stay on this soft floor, because it's just not work. Like, if I'm a sprint, I'm gonna go to the field. Like, it's just not the bang for my
impact, man. The older I get, listen, you're talking to a wrestler who we still like. I still talk to a couple of guys that I wrestle with, and we still make fun of my wrestling coach, because you got to do your running. You got to run. Skinny black man used to ragdoll he couldn't have been more than 135 soaking wet. Ragdoll everybody in the whole gym. Talking about, you got to do your running. See, that's why you're getting thrown around, because you're not running. I'm like, coach, you just lateraled me over my head. Like, what does that have to do with? But I did. I ran 3 miles twice a day religiously in season. Every morning I got up and I ran 3 miles, and then we had to run 3 miles to get on the mats to start practice. Our warm-up was 3 miles. You did not practice until you finish your 3 miles. So if it took you an hour to do 3 miles, I hate to break it to you, heavyweight, you're not training today. So even our big boys, like, you know what I mean? They weren't the most talented, but I watched guys that weren't great, just higher level guys that thought they were going to get an easy match,
Kenny, big picture, you've came through all this, I didn't even know you were out of the restaurant. So congrats on that. You're full-time training, putting on events now. Big picture. I know we spoke before, bro, about just wanting and having the desire to continue to give back to, younger people. What advice do you have for young people that are looking to get into the sport? What advice do you have to anyone young or anyone that might be watching that's either just struggling with any addiction. Nowadays, it's not just substance addiction. Now we've got addictions to content that we're looking at on the screens. Anybody dealing with addiction or anybody dealing with just, bro, like just hitting that rock bottom.
I mean, see, here's the thing. Rock bottom is a place you have to go by yourself. Not many people are going to hang around long enough to let you take them there with you. And if they do, their rock bottom will still be very different. Meaning if they go to your rock bottom with you, doesn't mean that they're going to come back with it, because their rock bottom could be lower. You know what I mean? So that's where the beauty happens. You know what I mean? And in that moment, it's hard and it's scary, but you have to be one of two things: disciplined enough or desperate enough to make the change. If you're disciplined enough, you don't have to wait until life makes you so desperate to change that you change. You can make small habits. Now, again, when you're talking about addiction, a lot of times, mostly it comes down to that low. Like, you have to get to the point that it hurts so bad that you have to ask for help. If you haven't gotten there yet and you feel like you need help, don't wait. Don't wait. Especially with the way these things on the streets are, that oh, I'm just gonna go do one more and then call and check myself in here and there. There's no more one mores out there. It's not. It's killing people left and right. There is no more one last buzz. If the last one is because people are dying, and it's sad. When you make that commitment, the first thing is you have to get off of everything. You have to get a clear mind. Again, like, yes, I smoke and I have a drink here and there, but I didn't for well over a year, until I found myself and I was comfortable. And I still wouldn't recommend it. I still think it's better to just be completely off everything. You know, but I'm not gonna say that hypocritically and not tell people, that the truth. After that, you already said the word, like, support system is everything. Once you get to a point of getting everything out of your system, now there's going to be a lot of triggers. The world is rough. It's hard. Most people are starting over, right? If you're not lucky enough to have your parents' money and this and that. Like, my dad put me in a halfway house after my last detox and said, don't call me. Like, and that was the best thing he ever did, because the years of enabling allowed me to keep doing it. When my father finally was like, no, bro, here's your 300 something dollars for 2 weeks. You get paid before that 2 weeks is up from your new job. You're on your own. And that was the best thing that happened. I needed that again. There was no choice, right? Going back to, like I talked about the gym, there was no choice but to not fuck it up again. But that support system, being in the halfway house, and I mean, I did not like any of those people. And also,
Right.
freshly clean, you don't want to
Yeah.
associate with them, because you don't want to feel in that same level. And I'm not saying that in a way of putting people down, because I did the same thing. But our human nature is to tell ourselves, oh, well, I wasn't that bad. Or we're having meetings and people are oh, well, at least I wasn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like, be grateful. You know what I like? Instead
Yeah.
of like putting them down, like, be grateful that you didn't. Because one of the things that we would say is, like, anytime you say, well, I haven't done that, like, make sure that you put yet at the end of that sentence. Because if you keep doing those things that you were doing that put you in that situation, it's gonna happen. I did a lot of things that I'm not gonna say I would take back, because they made me who I am, but that I never thought that I would do.
Yeah.
And that I wouldn't do in a coherent state of mind. I wouldn't. It's not who I am in my core, but
Right.
again, it changes. But again, for anybody struggling, get open, get honest, ask for help, accept the help, and then take the recommendations, especially when you get to the point of talking to other people that are in recovery that have been there. Take the suggestions. They're not suggestions. Take them. Like, they're politely telling you what the fuck it's going to take for you to get where you need to be. And don't look for the comfortable love. Again, every time somebody tried to help me with comfort, it made me go into a deeper place to get uncomfortable instead
Mm.
of going into a better place of uncomfort. You're going to be uncomfortable either way, right? You're going to be uncomfortable scraping the streets, running around, selling your body, stealing, robbing, in jail. You're going to be really uncomfortable. Like, do the uncomfortable to be good. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Change is uncomfortable no matter what, man. And that's why, like, I get so excited when life is hard now, because I have not, in a clear state of mind, gone through anything in life that my life isn't better because of now. So again, it's hard, and I have those moments where I gotta stop and breathe and, like, yo, what the fuck? Why is it everything all at once? And I'm like, no, that's good, because when everything clears up all at once, think of how much growth you're gonna have seen. You know what I mean? And I'm so blessed for that. But like, be humble when you restart too. One of the things that kept me going back out was, again, oh well, I'm clean now. I need to make the most money as fast as possible. Well, that most money as fast as possible put me in the one place I didn't need to be, with 11 days clean, and then wonder why I don't make it to 30 days without, getting a bag on the way home. It was ingrained in who I was at that point. It wasn't even like my hands picking my phone up, calling the guy on the way home out of instinct. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm going and boom, all of a sudden I'm looking like, yo, I didn't even mean to turn here, legitimately. But when you do it every night, and that's the comfort that your body knows, so you have to be willing to make changes that are hard. And like the harder ones, the people you don't want to let go of the most, you have to love them from a distance. You know what I mean? Like my mom and my dad, I hate not being with them, but my dad moving 2 hours away was the best thing that happened to me.
Mm.
And now I appreciate that time together so much, and we have a real relationship, because I didn't bother him for the last 3 years asking him for money every day and this and that. When I call him, it's to check on him, not to ask
Yeah.
him to fucking bail me out of jail, or to,
Right.
like, just all that kind of stuff, man. And it's just it's gonna be uncomfortable no matter what, but that it's hard. You know what I mean? Like there's, I'm sure you've seen the video that like says no matter what, it's gonna be hard. Being single is hard. Being married is hard. Choose your hard. You know what I mean?
Yes,
And the
sir.
problem with it, with the problem with addiction is there's an extreme level of comfort that comes, for as bad and as rough as we look and as low as we get to the outside world that doesn't get it. There is an immense level of comfort that comes from only worrying about one thing.
Yeah, you see all these people on the street, homeless all over here,
It's
in
it's
Fort
sad and
Lauderdale.
it's heartbreaking, but like I very much understand how people get back to that, because
Yeah.
like if I can worry about, you know what I mean, like when you factor in, you got to worry about rent, being a husband, my little puppy's over there, like all just all those things, like it's a lot, it's
Yeah, being
overwhelming. And
responsible.
if you don't have any immense sense of gratitude, and again the ability to look back at where you've come from, it's incredibly overwhelming. Like I'm telling you, there was something about knowing, like there's such a piece in knowing what your day looks like already every day when you wake up. But you can get that same piece as a successful person by being well planned out, by being punctual, by being disciplined, and being accountable, and those are habits, man. Like like especially if you're fresh, trying to get like into recovery, trying to get clean, write down everything. Write it down. Write down everything that you think, every fucking crazy thought. Because I tell you what, when I did that, the first week that I went home, before I went into halfway, I had to stay with my dad for 1 week. I wrote every single night, every fucking weird thought that I had.
Mm.
And when I went back and read it, I was like, it made me step back, and I was like, yo, if somebody said this shit to me, I'd be like, bro, you're fucking nuts. Just chill out. Like, it's not that serious. You know what I mean? And then like over time, I realized what I was starting to write was changing, because of the my perception began to change. You know what I mean? Like again, that's one of the great things that NA did for me, was as a competitor, we like our trophies, we like this and that. So getting like having a little sight set on getting a key tag and making it to 30 days, it's fucking massive for somebody like
Yeah,
me.
for sure.
And I'm not about participation trophies. That's not a participation. That means I did what I was supposed to do for 30 days.
Well, it's the
And one,
recognition.
it's exactly.
Humans do have a desire, and particularly competitors. They're working, training, playing, fighting. To be recognized as number one. You know, that's what's driving that work is the recognition. And anybody that says they don't care about being recognized is full of shit.
No, man, listen, that uh, I'm the kind of person, man. I'll do anything to for anybody that I feel like is genuinely going to appreciate it. The
Yeah,
first time I do something for you and I feel like you act like it's what I was supposed to do, like it puts an off taste in my mouth. And as far as the competition thing, that's why it's so easy for pro athletes. Like why you see it even in the highest level, these guys out getting DUIs. Earl Spence crashing his fucking Ferrari or
mm,
Lamborghini, whatever it was, stuff
yeah.
like that.
That one
Because we
football player
party,
just got like 30 years or some crazy thing
bro.
for.
We party the same way that we train.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Oh
how
yeah.
many guys do you know that train this intensely and go and sit
Mm.
down and have one drink? Like, it's not that's not a thing. And it took me a very
Also
long time to be able to do that.
being around like when you're in it, like there was a point where, dude, like I was so in it that I was so unrelatable and uninterested in anybody or anything anyone had to say that did not have to do with jujitsu, or fighting in general.
That's
Like
my
it,
life now. Like
and
I don't do anything else.
but I think it's important for, depending on, and that's why I asked you, advice to young athletes, because is your goal, what are your goals? Like, is your goal to be a world champion? Because it's important to put the work in, it's important to give 100%, and there's a lot of sacrifices that get made, but there does reach a point of, if your identity isn't, I'm training to be a world champion, and it's, I'm training to be what, a coach, a leader, whatever it is, because now where you're at, you're still in it, but especially leaving the restaurant, you've got this openness and this expansion to where, like, hey, like I really want to help people get through these things. I want to connect with people in more, martial arts and fighting is a it's a way to connect, but you start opening up to, is it just that, or do I really want to make an impact and help others? And you
Yeah,
start finding other ways to help other people become, their best self too.
yeah. I mean, I think at this point, I mean, I don't care about titles and all that, man. I had a room full of trophies and all this shit from wrestling. Um, I lost it all when I moved to Pennsylvania. One of the bags that had all my stuff in it that
Oh
was supposed to
man,
be in the truck
that
with me
sucks.
was in the bed of the truck, and everything got ripped. So I lost. I don't have anything. The only hardware that I have left are from the two kickboxing tournaments that I won at Darwin's. That's it. That's the only. And those mean more to me, not because of that, but because that was a resurgence. Like, I like having that as that first,
Yeah,
because I felt like such a new
yeah.
person. That was me just coming back. And especially the first one, winning that trophy by going to an overtime round, like a 1 minute, just all out, and having to just do nothing more than dig and outwork
Those tournaments
somebody.
are crazy, dude.
They're
I've been to
wild. They're
like
fun.
two. They're
They're fun.
wild.
So, but the thing is, like, when you really love this, there's always going to be something motivating you to get better. Now I
Yeah.
train because I train a lot of teams, and like, they not gonna be able to whoop my ass in a couple years. They're gonna have to wait. You know what I mean? Like, that's one, bro. Like, um, two, I feel like, especially at my age, like, if I'm not training consistently, it just feels
Mhm.
hypocritical. Like,
For
there's nothing
sure.
wrong with me not to go give full effort just because I want to be the best version of me.
Yeah.
Now at the point, it is more about like turning the pro career around and being just a beacon of like, yo, don't quit, bro. Like, this guy started his pro career 0-6, and now look, boom, 3-fight win streak. You know what I mean?
Right.
Boom, or he's 5-2 in his last 7 before he retired. Like, and you can figure it out. And again, just believing that the time is coming. Like, I believed it with the training, that I would have a
Definitely.
breakthrough, and that months would get better and get better. And even when I lost 3 clients in the same fucking week that were supposed to be reading up on packages, and you're thinking your whole rent's paid, and now you're like negative in accounts, and still just being like, hey, well, hopefully somebody walks in the door today and signs up. And just the resilience of it, you know what I mean? And also, I love it, bro. You can't, there's nothing, again, as an adrenaline junkie and somebody who's tried basically every substance you could think of, there's nothing like making that walk other than getting your hand raised after. Like, you know what I mean? Making that, so those are the top two highs that you can get, man. And even like, I would really like to do a bare knuckle fight for my retirement fight, for nothing other than the fact that I feel like, as a man, I shouldn't be as afraid of it as I am, which is
I would
completely
tune in for that.
like, a normal person is like, no, you should be afraid of getting hit with no fucking gloves on. You should be afraid of getting hit, period. I'm not afraid to get hit with gloves on. But like, one of those things, like that real life feel of it, just makes it doesn't feel like a sport to me at that point. I know it's still a sport, but like, that bare knuckle aspect makes it feel, I mean, immensely, it amplifies that life or death kind of, feeling.
Bro, I think
And
coming all the way back to what you said when you started wrestling was like, you didn't start wrestling because you wanted to be the best wrestler, bro. You
no,
started wrestling because you wanted to be able to speak up for yourself, stand up for yourself, be empowered. And it wasn't about the mat or the ring or the cage or none of that. It was like, yo, I'm a formidable force.
yeah,
And I think that I can really like, bro, I can definitely relate to that, because even to this day, there's days I don't want to train. especially when I'm dealing with injuries. Like right now, I'm dealing with my shoulder the past 4 months. I need to go get an MRI on my shoulder. But what pushes me is I don't want to be like everybody else. I never want to be like everybody else. And I want to know that unless you are that guy, right? Like you're going to have to be a professional who's
Like you have
really
to be that
doing it
dude, yeah.
every day, or else, bro, how's it going to go for you, bro? How are you going to handle this? How are you
Well,
going to
and
deal with this?
it's not only that, man. Like you become so non. I hate the term non-confrontational because a lot of people that think they're
You
non-confrontational are
do
just
become,
soft.
yeah,
They think they're just like most people that tell you they're non-confrontational are
yeah,
not non-confrontational. They're afraid of conflict. Very different.
yeah.
Non-confrontational means that I have the ability to choose to walk away from you simply because I decide to, not because I can't do anything to you about the situation if I need to.
I think the managing
And
of the nerves going
that's
into
everything.
a confrontation where you're like, listen, I can go into this, especially if it's something you have to deal with. Like I can enter into this confrontation with confidence. I know that physically I'm safer than this person, because usually you know the individual if you have
And
to confront them. And you can just and you can more efficiently get through it, and both of you guys come out of it
well,
in a better
so
way.
the thing is the calmness. The reason that I believe it leads to less confrontation is that my nerves don't shoot through the ceiling at the first sign of no.
Exactly.
My instinct now, where before was to be defensive, is to be observant. Right? My first instinct now is when I get a heightened sense not to get defensive and throw my hands up and yell at somebody like it was for a long time when I still felt like I have